Let's talk about North Carolina, of course, where election fraud is taking place. Republican Mark Harris faced Democrat Dan McCready. Harris is leading by 905 votes, but we now know that was a massive scheme to basically discount absentee ballots. Here's how it worked. They would visit the home of absentee ballot requester, ask for an absentee ballot, and promise to return it to election officials. They would either fill in Harris's name or discard if they voted for McCready. Now, they seem to target rural African Americans. Now, here's what's amazing. 19% of the people in this particular county are Republicans who requested absentee ballots. But the Republican won 61% of the absentee ballot. Okay, let me explain that again. 19% of the people who requested absentee ballots were Republicans, and the Republican, Harris, won 61% of all absentee ballots. The State Board of Elections has 6 affidavits from people who had their ballots picked up. The man allegedly running the scam, working for the Harris campaign, is a convicted felon who faced jail time for fraud and perjury. Over the last 20 years, he has been paid by at least 9 candidates, all for get out the vote work. I thought they were so focused on voter ID. In addition, North Carolina GOP, they tried to rush through a law that would require, get this folks, every county elections board in the state to be chaired by a Republican in election years. Sam Fullwood, you're from there. Again, I keep saying it, Republicans in North Carolina, they would make Southern Dixiecrats from Mississippi and Alabama in the 50s and 60s proud of what they're doing.
The problem that you have in North Carolina is that you have this supermajority in the legislature, and up until a couple of years ago, you had a Republican governor. And, you know, that whole saying about absolute power corrupting absolutely, that's exactly what you have in the state, in the good old Tar Heel state. Those good old boys down there, recognizing, as you mentioned earlier, that their power one day is not going to be what it is today. And they're building in all of these systems to be able to protect their hegemony over the electorate. I'm really confused about this voter scandal in North Carolina. I'm confused because I don't know how you unravel this. The only possible solution is to have another election. And
here's the piece. The elections board has the authority, Greg, to actually do that. And they can call for another election. It is clearly spelled out.
Well, to Sam's earlier point, if they don't call for a new election, how does that undermine, again, the citizens' faith in democracy? Now, I mean, we could take it back to the days of our frat brother Charles Hamilton Houston, who was arguing before a deeply racist federal bench, or his student, our frat brother Thurgood Marshall. The arguments that they made to get Brown done, to do voting rights, Baker versus Carr, and then Gamillion versus Lightfoot, those cases were argued before a federal judiciary that still had to maintain the rule of law for people to have faith in it, even though there were many racist undertones. Let's come back to where we are today. If they don't call for another election uncovering this fraud, if they continue this deep overreach, they are counting with this white supremacist move. This is why, for example, Mitch McConnell won't bring anything up, because he doesn't have to. They are counting on stacking the federal judiciary in such a way so that this thing can receive the legitimacy of constitutional approval. And if they do that, now we're in trouble. Only last thing I'd say is this. At the state level, as you say, local elections matter. There's a Secretary of State election in Georgia. We just heard Lon say it. They are voting now for the person, if they vote and elect a Democrat, which is what you said, we got to get this black turnout up. They can do something to begin to dismantle what Brian Kemp did. But they've got to vote. And in Florida, where we lost that election, this new racist governor gets 3 picks to the Florida Supreme Court. You're not going to see African Americans on that Supreme Court. Local elections matter in part because the federal judiciary for the foreseeable future is going to be stacked with people who are not interpreting the Constitution as this kind of transcendent document, but one to preserve white supremacy. It's going to be the state Supreme Courts. It's going to be the local courts that matter, and those are elected positions.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
As we transition into the holiday season, this is the time, of course, when we start thinking about giving and sharing. Sometimes the best gift that you can give someone is an opportunity that could potentially change their lives financially. That's why our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created an investment opportunity for the everyday investor. It involves legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, look, black folks have been impacted by marijuana in a negative way. Now, the issue is it is legal in so many areas. It is one of the fastest growing industries in the country. Yeah, and we also know that crowdfunding makes it easy to be an early investor of an opportunity. It's a no-brainer. But it also gets even better. Transatlantic real estate is different, and they have a business model that is simple to understand. They buy land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. Now, here's the piece. You're investing in a landlord of a licensed marijuana farm in a high-growth market. And for a limited time, you can invest as little as $300 up to $10,000 before the company goes public. And here's some more good news. They have recently extended the offer, which means you still have time if you take action now. Now, keep in mind, you must complete and confirm your application to participate. So be sure to complete the process. And don't spend all your money over the holidays and end up with empty pockets. Instead, get a return on your investment. You could also consider making an investment for someone special. How's that for a holiday gift? I think it's a good idea. Now, to get started, go to marijuanastock.org and marijuanastock.org for you to get in the game.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.